Let's see if Rosetta Stone is as bad as it used to be. Maybe it's better now.
この赤ちゃんは生まれて1日です。
I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. It says this baby is 1 day old. So I'm supposed to click this photo.
7日
Nanoka is like the 7th day of a month. The cat, there's a cat, trees, day and night. I really don't know what I'm supposed to do. This one or this one? Maybe this one? Okay, January 7th. So maybe this one.
2日
No, I really don't know. January 7th. Baby cat, day and night.
2日
This one? Select the spoken words or text that matches the image. Okay.
1週間は7日です。
Wait, that sounds a bit weird. 1週間は7日. Oh, this should be 1週間は7日. Because 7 days in Japanese is 7日. Can you say 7日? I mean, I understand what it means, but I don't think that's how we say it. This is a good example of how textbooks and apps aren't even correct sometimes. They just teach you random stuff. This is a month.
1ヶ月は4週間です。1年は12ヶ月です。
Okay, what's next?
1週間
1週間. I'm gonna try the wrong
1
pronunciation.
年
1年.
1年
So weird. What if I...
この赤ちゃんは生まれて18日です。この子供は生まれて18ヶ月です。
Wait. This child is 18 months old? Which one is the 18 months? It's kind of hard to see. This one or this one?
この日は土曜日です。
この日は土曜日です。
この日は土曜日です。この日は日曜日です。
この日は日曜日です。
この日は日曜
It
日
doesn't really
です。
check your pitch accents.
今日は日曜日です。私はテレビを見ています。
Yeah, so sentences in this kind of apps and some textbooks seem to be based on the idea that you can translate English sentences into Japanese. Because in English, you say something like, I'm watching TV, but in Japanese, we typically don't really say things that are obvious from the context. For example, if you are describing what you're doing, you would just say, テレビ見てます. I'm watching TV. And you don't say watashi in this context in Japanese because it's pretty obvious that I'm talking about myself. So it's very beneficial for learners to get used to how we speak Japanese. And I would argue that it's actually doing you a disservice if you construct Japanese sentences as you would construct English sentences. So if I write these sentences in the Japanese way, it will be something like 日曜日です。テレビを見ています. But then again, you don't actually need unnatural and artificial sentences to learn the same concepts. If you want to teach words like 今日, today, 日曜日, Sunday, you can perfectly do it with more natural, realistic examples. For example, I could ask my friend, 今日何曜日? What day is it today? And they can answer 日曜日. And just like this, you can learn the words 今日, today, and 日曜日 with a more realistic dialogue. And if you want to learn this form, something wa, something desu. You can also learn from written Japanese as opposed to spoken Japanese. For example, I could write something like ポチタは悪魔です. Pochita is a devil, right, Pochita? Woo! And you want to learn words like テレビ, TV, and 見る, to see or to watch. You can do it with a more natural dialogue. For example, in the context of texting, let's say your coworker asks you what you're doing because you guys are working remotely. They can ask you, 今何してるんですか? What are you doing now? And you can answer, テレビ見てます. I'm watching TV. But maybe you don't want to say that because you don't want them to think that you are actually watching TV. So you could say something like, 仕事してます. I'm working. Here I just said てます instead of ています because this is a conversation. And if you want to learn the full version of this expression, you can do it in the context of written Japanese because that's the kind of situation where we would use the full version. For example, I can write something like ポチタは夢を見ています. Pochita is dreaming. 夢を見る to dream. Because what's natural and what's correct depends on the context. So if you want to learn Japanese with me, I will teach you the kind of Japanese that real-life Japanese people today actually speak with natural, realistic examples in the right context. So click the link in the description and subscribe to my email group. Shopping.
男の人たちははしごを持っています。彼女はサングラスを持っています。
Again, it sounds like this sentence was translated from English. It's interesting because this is the kind of sentence that you would see in an English textbook in Japan because they give you somewhat direct translations. In English, this will be something like, she's holding sunglasses. And in English, when you talk about somebody, you tend to use pronouns like she, he, or they. But in Japanese, we typically don't do that. Because if I show you this photo and I say, サングラスを持っています, it's pretty obvious that I'm talking about her. So we don't say something like 彼女.
傘
傘. So that was interesting because here I said the wrong word because it has a different pitch pattern. I said 傘 low high, which is a different word from 傘 high low. But Rosetta Stone doesn't make distinction. So different words can be the same words in Rosetta Stone. Wife, she's Julia. Okay.
妻のジュリアをご存知ですか?
And again, this is a grammatically correct sentence, but in this kind of situation, we are very unlikely to say this. So, grammatically correct sentence in the wrong situation. They look like friends. It's not gonna be super polite. You can just say something like 妻のジュリアです. Or between friends, 妻 can be a little too formal. So you can say これ奥さんです. Or 奥さんだよ. Or 奥さんのジュリア. And words like wife or husband can be very contextual in Japanese. So it depends on the situation, your relationships with the people you are talking to. Things like that really matter. So 奥さん would be not appropriate in a formal setting. For example, if you're meeting your clients at work and if you want to introduce your wife to them, using 奥さん is not appropriate. 妻 will be more appropriate. But between friends, 妻 can be a little too formal. So something like 奥さん, which can be actually kind of wrong in a formal setting, is more natural in a more casual setting. And so apps like Rosetta Stone don't really think about these cultural differences and nuances in a given culture. Because this phrase is quite interesting because it says, do you know my wife, Julia? Do you guys say that in English? Like when you introduce your wife to somebody, would you say, "Do you know my wife, Julia?" Because in Japanese, I don't think we say that. I don't think we say, "Do you know my wife?" I think we would just say, "This is my wife, Julia." In different languages, you often phrase the same concept in very different ways. For example, there's this very common phrase in English, "I miss you." But we actually don't say "I miss you" in Japanese, not because we don't miss anybody, but because we phrase the same feeling in different ways. For example, we might just say, "Aitai," I want to see you, when we miss somebody. So directly translating an English phrase into Japanese doesn't always work. And this English-centric approach is one of the fundamental flaws in Rosetta Stone, in my opinion. Unit 12, Places and Events. Wait, there's only 12 units? Is that it? Is there like more advanced levels if you pay more? I'm not sure. Doesn't seem like it has more units, so it only has 12 units. And
この人はメキシコの男の人です。
it's the 12th unit, and they're still doing this. There's so much basic stuff you can learn in the same amount of time, and it's amazing how little you learn from spending so much time with Rosetta Stone. What I'm supposed to do here?
この人はメキシコの男の人です。
It's a weird way of phrasing this. That's it.
アメリカの帽子
American hat? It's an interesting thing to say, Americano boshi. Again, maybe I don't want to teach you which indicates possession, but you could come up with some more useful examples, like somebody's laptop, ポチタのパソコン. I can say, これポチタのパソコン? Is this your laptop, ポチタ? No. So he would say, 僕のじゃない. It's not mine. This is a much more realistic situation. For example, you're having a meeting at an office and you see a bunch of laptops and you're going to be like, oh, is this yours? So it's much more realistic. So Rosetta Stone, it doesn't teach you much in the first place because there's so many basic concepts that it didn't teach you in their 12 units. Their sentences are very unnatural because it seems like they actually translated English into Japanese, which doesn't always work. So I definitely wouldn't recommend Rosetta Stone. Of course, no resource is perfect, and sometimes you just have to pick something and start learning. But some resources are worse than other resources, and Rosetta Stone, I would never recommend this. You can actually learn much more by just watching free YouTube videos. And you can include mine. And if you want to learn basic Japanese quickly, I will teach you the kind of Japanese that real-life Japanese people today actually speak. Because textbooks and apps don't really teach you very common words and expressions that we use every day. So click the link and subscribe to my email group, Japanese with Yuta.